Hi everyone, Ryan here from Fight Game Analysis, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about Conor McGregor and his recent call out of Kamaru Usman. But before we jump into that, if you've been enjoying the content, please go ahead and click on the like button and also subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate your support. Alright, so recently in the news, we've seen Conor McGregor, the man who's been sitting on the sidelines for a while rehabbing after that injury, call out Kamaru Usman. Basically saying it's the best fight to make. Usman doesn't bring anything to the table. It's going to give McGregor the opportunity to do what nobody else has ever done before. Win the belt in 3 different weight divisions. Joe Rogan comes out and does what Joe Rogan does as a commentator, man. And it's just a guy who's keeping it real. And he says, look, you better be careful what you ask for. McGregor's out here talking about Usman. Usman is a beast. Maybe he's not the guy that you want to call out. And then on top of that, Chael Sonnen makes a video saying, why wouldn't he call him out? What's the problem? If you're in the tough guy business and you're trying to fight, you need to take chances. If you're scared of losing, what are you doing in the tough guy business, right? And these are all valid points. Actually go so far as to compare the current modern day Kamaru Usman, who's the pound for pound #1. And he says, is Kamaru Usman today better than Jose Aldo was in 2012? Right? Aldo, champion in 2 different organizations, undefeated for like 11 years, nasty leg kicks, ferocious right hands, all this. Is Usman today better than Jose Aldo was in 2012? Is Usman today better than Eddie Alvarez was when McGregor stepped up and fought him? And these are interesting questions, right? Because both of those guys were just looking incredibly good at those times, particularly Jose Aldo. So those are valid questions, right? Because right now we look at Usman as a guy who's at the top of his game and a pound for pound #1. McGregor wasn't scared to go into those ones. Nobody was giving McGregor advice not to fight those fights. Everybody was encouraging him. Even if he was the underdog, even if they thought he was going to lose, everybody encouraged him. So why now would somebody give anything other than encouragement to Conor McGregor? Look, man, those aren't exactly fair comparisons. I consider that a little bit of a straw man argument, okay? When you talk about stepping in against Jose Aldo in 2012 at 145 pounds, that was McGregor's weight class. He was competing at 145. When you talk about stepping up and fighting Eddie Alvarez at 155, it was a 1 weight class jump. And 145 was a weight that, if we're being honest with each other, McGregor was probably no longer going to be able to make. Man, he looked like he was knocking on death's door when he was making 145 pounds towards the end of that run. His cheeks were so sunken doing this. His facial bones, they were so prominent. Everything was poking out everywhere. He was nothing but knees and elbows. He was so skinny, right? So it was very natural for him to move up to 155 pounds and make that fight. But when we look at the guys at 170 pounds, man, they are bigger than Conor McGregor. They are bigger, they are taller, they are stronger, they have a longer reach. That's just the average for the division. We're not even talking about the champ and what he brings to the table. Usman, with that dominant, nasty wrestling. Usman, the guy who went out there and broke Colby Covington's jaw. The guy who's been increasing his striking to the point where he went out there and just smoked Jorge Masvidal, a guy who's a lifelong striker. Usman, the guy who's got very good cardio, strong in the clinch. I don't know, man. Personally, I have to agree. I think McGregor's here is just using this for a little bit of publicity. I think he's using this for a little bit of buzz. I think he's using it because we're going to talk about it, right? Same thing that I'm doing now. We're going to talk about it. People are going to entertain it. People are going to think about it. You see this dude just getting all super big. He's constantly flexing. You can imagine all the weights that he's lifting and whatever else he's doing to put on that weight. So you start to think, is 170 pounds an option? Dana White comes out and says, man, I don't care about people thinking that it's bogus for McGregor to get a title shot when he comes back. They're haters. If I feel like doing it, I'm going to do it. So you start to ask yourself the question, is this legitimate? Could Conor McGregor come back and just jump right into a title fight at 170 pounds against Usman? I mean, look, I'll say this. I guess anything's possible. We saw Dan Henderson get that title fight because Bisping wanted to get some get back once he won the belt, right? Certainly wasn't justified for him to be in a title fight at that position with everything that was currently going on in his career. I don't think it's justified by any means whatsoever for Conor McGregor to jump in and get a title fight. Not at 145, not at 155, and definitely not at 170 pounds. His last 2 fights were losses. Both of them stoppages. Right? One was a knockout, one was a doctor stoppage. But either way, it was a loss for him, and he did not make it all the way to the end of the fight. Now he's going to move up a weight class and jump right into a title fight? Why? Just because Usman's so dominant, he's been smoking everybody, that the division happens to seem a little bit thin? Nah. I'd say give that fight to, Chimaev or somebody like that. Like, you got to give that fight to somebody else. You're going to give it right to Conor McGregor? Oh. So, one, I think it's bad from a promotional standpoint, from a publicity standpoint, just all of those things, right? Don't really like it from that. If you're Dana White and you have to give Conor McGregor a title shot, man, bring him down, have him come in at 155 and give him a shot there. Okay? But not at 170. And then from Conor McGregor's standpoint, right, answering that age-old question that Chael Sonnen asked, why wouldn't you do it? Why wouldn't you take this fight? If you're in the business of trying to take fights and be a tough guy and take these chances and try and get out there, why wouldn't you take this fight? Because it's going to be 3 losses in a row for him if he fights Usman. That's why. It's going to be 3 devastating losses in a row for him. Right? He'll have been stopped by Dustin Poirier. He'll have got a doctor stoppage against Poirier from breaking his leg. And then he's going to get another knockout stoppage when Usman tears his head off, either through punches or through ground and pound or whatever it is, right? He is not going to go in there and win a fight at 170 pounds against Usman, man. It's just not going to happen, And I think the majority of people honestly know that. The one thing that I'll say, though, is Conor McGregor did not get to the position he's at by listening to the majority of people. And he did not get to the position he's at by not taking chances or constantly paying the odds and probability and all those things. The man goes out there and he tries to make it happen, puts it all on the line. Physically, mentally, emotionally, that's what you have to do as a fighter. Traveling around the world, practicing your craft, especially early on when you're not really getting paid. I'm sure he'd get paid a lot for this one, man, but it's going to put a big dent in his legacy. It's going to tarnish things coming out with another loss. So I think all things considered, he just needs to stay in his lane. 155 pounds is him. 175 pounds is a different class of fighter. 15 pounds may not seem like that much when you're walking up and down the street just seeing the guy at the bus stop. But when you're talking about professional fighters, 15 pounds is a world away. So I think this one would be a bad decision for Conor McGregor all day long. I think it'd be great for Usman, by the way, because he would get absolutely paid getting a fight McGregor. Probably be one of his easiest fights, particularly recently. When I say that, I don't say that to diminish Conor McGregor's skill by any stretch of the imagination. Highly skilled fighter. I just think that he's stepping in over his head at 170 pounds against Usman. So let me know what you guys think. You feel the same way as I do? Usman will go in there and just be completely dominant from the start to the finish, whenever that was? Or do you think that Conor McGregor, all this time off, all this extra experience, he's watching film, he'd be able to figure something out, and he's got that left hand, and somehow, some way, he'd figure out how to get it off and just get him out of there? Let me know what you guys think.